BA attack is one of the most dangerous jobs that a firefighter has to carry out. In a room on fire, unignited gases are formed which, with the right combination of temperature and oxygen, can lead to an explosive dispersion of the fire in the form of a flashover. This can be fatal. Our method, using the Cobra cutting extinguisher from a secure position outside, enables the firefighter to cut his way through barriers and cool down the gases created by the fire. And because the hole used to penetrate the wall is so small, no oxygen is admitted to the fire area. This is currently the safest alternative available to fire departments. The Cobra cutting extinguisher is able to cut its way through all known types of building materials. This significantly boosts the firefighting effect in the area concerned, and the fire can be subdued or extinguished using small amounts of water. By attacking the fire from the outside, one can safely cut through a wall without entering the building. The pressurized water consists of small water droplets that will turn to steam when they hit hot fire gases, which in turn will rapidly lower the temperature inside the fire room with minimal water consumption. By quickly employing a cutting extinguisher, it is possible to immediately start the process of dousing the fire and save time in this critical period of the fire's progress. Doing this hinders the fire's impetus, cools the gases, and therefore prevents flashover. The rapid advancement of a fire while fighting it using slow, conventional methods often leads to total destruction.
If 1 liter of water is vaporized to 1,000 droplets, each 1 millimeter in diameter, 6 square meters can be covered. This is equal to the surface of 1/3 of a football goal. If 1 liter is instead vaporized to 1 million droplets, each 1 micrometer in diameter, approximately 6,000 square meters can be covered. This equals the area of a whole football pitch. When putting out a contained fire, normally it is sufficient to use 25 liters of water. The extremely small water droplets can then cover an area of approximately 25 football pitches.
We in Northamptonshire have started the introduction of Cobra on our frontline fire appliances. By the end of this year we will have 9 fire appliances fitted with the Cobra system, and we have it available for frontline attack. The main reason we brought Cobra into Northamptonshire was health and safety of our firefighters. It was thought that if we could make an effect on a fire with cooling the hot gases in a compartment prior to entry of firefighters into the room, that would be a benefit all round. And we are currently in the process of training and equipping all our firefighters with the knowledge and skills to do that. Currently we are in a project, a European funded project called Firefight 2, and we are looking at incorporating the use of Cobra in with positive pressure ventilation and the use of thermal imaging on locating a fire prior to entry. What we've found from our experience is that it is a very useful tool. We can use it to access a building without having to break and force doors and make a cooling effect on a fire prior to our standard firefighting procedures. Overall, our impression of the system is very good. We are keen now to develop it and incorporate it into our normal standard practices of firefighting.
In our fire brigade we have 24 fire stations, and we have on these 24 fire stations, in each operational area we have Cobras, totally 10 Cobra unit, and we have up to now 10 years of experience, and we have developing the use of the Cobra system. And what we want to achieve is to create safety in the first strike, and to create a time limit during the period that we want to get to attack inside this burning building. And then these 10 years we have developing the use and combining the use with other kind of tools and methods. We use the Cobra in small house fires and industrial building, and even in big industrial building we can see the good benefit of using the Cobra to create good effect even on distance. And when we see and talk with the firefighters who have worked with this tool, they say that their safety has increased in use of the Cobra during this 10 years time. One of these examples for good use in the Cobra system is an industrial hotel. The fire has started in several cars standing from the outside of the building, and now very rapidly the fire is spreading even to the inside. We put in the Cobra unit to cool down and prevent to spreading the fire to the side room of this industrial hotel. And during this action with the Cobra we even combine with a PPV fan, and we pressurize the side room of the building, and we use up to, I think it was 11 units of PPV fans. And these combined use of the Cobra system and PPV fans save up to nearly 80% of this big building. It was 10,000 square meter size, and we save 80% of that, and the saving cost in this fire was 10 million euro.
Cobra is the ultimate solution for use in the chemical and processing industries where cutting operations that produce heat cannot be applied. The accessories available make it simple and without risk to cut pipes and empty tanks containing sensitive contents. The cutting extinguisher is also found installed in different types of marine vessels, in refineries, on oil drilling rigs, in the processing industry, in the steel industry, in airports, in major terminal ports, in shipyards, and in coal mines. Chlorine tanks of a derailed train set had to be cut off from the carriages, but should not be heated. The cutting was performed using a cutting rail equipped with a cutting extinguisher.
My name is Uwe Elger. I'm one of the fire engineers of BASF SE's fire department in Ludwigshafen. BASF is the world's leading chemical company, and over here in Ludwigshafen we have the biggest chemical production plant worldwide, and we as the fire service are responsible for any kind of fire or product releasing emergency responses. Most of our job that we are carrying out are technical based. That means we are more or less a technical and service unit, and this is why we are very interested and try to develop and also looking around all the time for technical solutions which make step forwards for us, for our job, and to save our firefighters in real emergency situations. One of the appliances that we are using now for 3 or 4 years is a Cobra from COLDCUT systems in Sweden, and especially together with our robot unit, it's a very, very good part to, for example, release pressure from unintended chemical reactions, to cut off drums which are overblown or other situations. Bringing out our service and also the emergency response worldwide on the transportways inside the TUI system or the ICE system, and also if chemicals involved produced by our daughter companies worldwide. And so it is necessary to have perfect material to carry out perfect response and to reduce influences to people, to the environment, and at least the world in which we are living for. So after, in the meantime, using the Cobra from COLDCUT systems in Sweden 4 years, we have a lot of experience with this appliance, and it was very, very helpful and has a really high valuable for our emergency response system in the meantime. A Cobra in combination with a robot gives us the opportunity to bring a distance, a safe distance between us and our firefighters in some of the situations, and this is a huge benefit which could be only created from a combination of technology like we have over there.
We are a Dutch-based salvage company, and we are involved in a lot of ships fire. We make a decision many years ago to buy 2 Cobra systems to base that worldwide on our operations. And we ship it out to all our emergency fire operations. We encounter a lot of problems to be very quickly on shore, so the size of the equipment is very important. The big advantage to use a Cobra system is it is not necessary to enter the vessel or to go into, by example, the accommodation, and we can penetrate through the steel plate of, by example, the place where the heat is at that moment, and we can extinguish very easy the fire with very less water. And that is very important to use less water than in the past, especially for the stability of the vessel, because every liter of water what you bring into the vessel you have to pump it out later, or you have a lot of problems with the stability. We use the system now for approximately 4 years. Still we are improving the system together with the guys from Cobra, and we use it now on several occasions, and it is so worthwhile for us as a company, and we see the big advantage of it, that maybe in the near future we will expand the amount of Cobras worldwide also to our bases in Cape Town, Singapore and in Houston, to be ready for any disaster on the seas.
When I started at FMV, the Swedish Defence Material Administration, in the beginning of 2001, I met Lars Larsson from CCS, and he told me about this new invention called cutting extinguisher. And it sounded marvelous because it's a high risk to put out fires on board the ships. We wanted to have a safer method to put out fires. Because our sailors on board the ships, they are not firefighters. Of course they have education, they know how to fight a fire, but they are mainly sailors. And we did a lot of tests and trials with the cutting extinguishers to see how effective this cutting extinguisher was. and we found out that was the solution for our Navy to get a safer environment and to get equipment that could put out fire without risk the crew's health and safety. In the beginning of 2009, we bought our two first systems with the cutting extinguishers to our corvettes Stockholm and Malmö, was going down to Aden Bay to fight pirates. Hopefully in the future we won't need to do any BA attacks because we could use the cutting extinguisher as a first attack. And I think that this cutting extinguisher would be a splendid tool even for the merchant fleet, because they have lesser crews than we have in the Navy, and they have lesser time for education than we have in the Navy. So I think for the merchant fleet, this would be splendid if they had the cutting extinguishers on board their ships also. The crew on board the ships felt much safer when they had the cutting extinguisher on board and could do the first attack with that instead of doing a BA attack. Now in 2010 we have 4 units on board our corvettes, and hopefully next year we will have 5 more units on board our new Visby class corvette.
Cutting holes in fire ventilation, like BA attack, are some of the most significant risk factors in firefighting. In the case of fire in concealed areas, such as double floors, walls, crawl spaces, and attics, the cutting extinguisher has proved itself to be a very effective firefighting tool. Several of the presented action reports describe how cutting extinguisher action has been decisive in extinguishing and controlling fires in concealed spaces. Fire causes extensive property damage with considerable economic loss every day. Damage by water from firefighting represents more than 50% of these costs in large fires. Pollution of the water used to extinguish the fire is a great problem at incidents of large fires. COLDCUT Cobra uses less water to extinguish the flames and thereby creates less pollutive elements. It is also easier to stop a fire's rapid advance thanks to the effective method of cooling the fire and preventing flashovers. A large number of trials, tests, and real fires verify the effectiveness of the cutting extinguisher. COLDCUT Systems provides training for the methods and tactics of Cobra use at the Cobra Academy. The instruction is adapted to meet the needs of different levels within an organization. The courses are held at established schools in cooperation with government authorities and local fire departments. We employ the combination of experienced instructors and an advanced training facility where a number of fire and accident scenarios can be simulated. This provides the course participants with the optimal learning conditions for acquiring skill on the cutting extinguisher and fans for use in highly efficient firefighting. Combined action using cutting extinguishers, thermocameras, and positive pressure fans has proved to be very effective in fighting many fires. Small units can quickly begin qualified firefighting. In principle, one person can handle the equipment, but normally, a cutting extinguisher team should consist of one person operating the tool and one person who monitors the burning building or construction with the aid of a thermocamera.
The Swedes have developed an extinguisher which is saving lives. It's been brought to the Lancashire Fire and Rescue Training Centre for them to try out. Before we put the device through its paces, I joined the new recruits for a demonstration that showed just how dangerous the job can be, particularly from something called backdraft. So Ian, what is a backdraft?
A backdraft occurs when we've got a fire in a room that has used up all the available oxygen. The firefighter comes along, he opens the door. Lots of smoke rushing out, but lots of air rushing in. As they mix, they'll get to the point where they can ignite and can cause an explosion.
Wow. That's really scary, isn't it?
It can be very scary, but it's lethal as well. A number of firefighters die every year because this happens while they're inside the building.
The cutting extinguisher may be the answer. The Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service are the first fire service in the UK to be testing a revolutionary water jet that can cut through walls and allow firefighters to put out fires from the outside. This amazing extinguisher produces a jet of water that comes out at 200 metres a second. That's about 400 miles an hour. And it's combined with a little bit of this grit. It's iron oxide, very sharp-edged particles, a bit smaller than a millimetre across. And together they have the power, they claim, to go through 15 centimetres of concrete.
It will go through this concrete, it will go through a steel hull of a ship and any kind of material. We haven't come upon any type of material it can't go through.
We've set up a test to see whether the extinguisher will be able to cut through a solid block of concrete, and Ian's keen to see just how long it will take. Hey, they're through. That is fantastic. How long did it take?
Superb, a minute and a quarter at most.
What would it take you conventionally?
Traditionally 15 minutes, half an hour using some other form of tool. It's fine in a test situation, but I think we should try this on a real building and a real fire.
This is the first time that any British fire brigade has had a chance to test this equipment on a real fire, so they're really going to put it through its paces. Now, in here, we've got a classic sitting room. If you look round, we've got a soft chair, a sofa, there's a table, there's a telly in the corner, and Ian, who's in charge of the operation. Now, it's going to get hot in here, isn't it?
Yes, we expect the temperature to reach at least 500 degrees centigrade in the first couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes. How are we going to know the temperature?
We put remote sensors at ceiling height that will give us an external reading of the temperature in here and how effective the new equipment is.
In just 30 seconds, our sitting room has developed into an inferno, and we're forced to retreat. Oh, it's warm in there. See how the temperature's doing. Oh, that sounded nasty. Oh, we're up at 400 already at the ceiling.
400 already, yes.
That's moving, son.
Yeah, we'd expect it to rise to over 500 degrees in there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, luckily, I think I can hear the cavalry coming now, so maybe they'll sort us out. At over 600 degrees, the fire is rapidly consuming the oxygen, and the firefighter could easily trigger a backdraft if he opens the door. But with this system, he can tackle the blaze safely from outside. He's now going straight through the hole and spraying a fine mist of water into the room. And the water is damping out the fire, denying it oxygen, and it's evaporating to steam and taking the heat out of everything. And you see, the temperature's coming right down. It was up at 650, it's now down to under 400 and still dropping very rapidly because of the cooling effect of that water. Even though there isn't very much water, it's a remarkable system. You can put out a fire without even going into the building. After a few minutes, the temperature drops low enough for Ian and me to survey the damage. Wow, it's still warm in here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's obviously made a terrible mess of that wall on the sofa, and I don't think we're going to be watching telly tonight, do you?
No, I think that's gone. But we can see here that the heat level has gone down to perhaps just below the telly.
Right.
And that was about the time when the water was introduced. And we only used maybe 10 litres of water to put this fire out.
10 litres?
10 litres, that's all. Traditionally, a firefighter might use thousands of litres to get into this room. That would create a lot of steam. If there was anybody alive in here, that would compromise their safety. The steam maybe kill them. And, of course, the firefighter themselves would be suffering from that steam as well.
Yes. So you think this thing might be useful?
I think it's a great piece of equipment. It's got a good future. Make our job easier.